Hi, Iconoclast Inange. You can count on me to ask questioning thoughts about today's idols and false doctrines. So, here's one that I want to get into right now. I have taken many pages of notes, so please excuse me if I look down a lot and I seem to be reading. But, notes and there are more pages. But anyway, I noticed over the past several weeks there's this meme that's been going around. Um, it's a meme with the headshots of several black former rappers and athletes. And I am not that good about popular culture, but I do remember a couple of names. One is Ice Cube and um, Kanye West, and then there's another one whose name I remember. And hopefully, if I can find that meme again, I will put it over here so you can see. Anyway, especially around black, and this is when I'm saying black, it's like it extends to Africa as well, because my friends in Africa, Lesotho, South Africa, especially, that's where most of my friends in Africa, are passing this around. And so this meme basically is asking who is the biggest coon, right? Or like rate the coonery or whatever. So this meme has been going around for several weeks because these are uh, mostly black men who made a fortune and now they want to do something with their fortune for the black community. And Ice Cube, for instance, um, before the election, shopped his idea to the Democrats, and they said, "Come back to us after the election. We can talk." And then he went to the Republicans, and they were like, "Yeah, let's talk right now. Let's see what we can do right now. We have our platinum plan, and you have your plan for Black America, and let's like negotiate, and we'll put your ideas into our plan." Anyway, he got big black backlash over it. They called him, people are canceling him left and right, calling him a coon and a buffoon and a clown and an Uncle Tom, blah, 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 blah. N word this, N word that. So I saw it a couple of times. I didn't expect to see it again, but keeps making its rounds. So please excuse me if I look down and sound like I'm reading. I started writing this as a post, but it's so much writing, and that means that's a lot of reading. So it might make it easier for people if I record it and you can listen to it. You don't have to look at my funny face. You can listen. So I'm reading off of my notes. Like I said, I started typing it out. But I really don't, I'm not in that mood right now. So I wrote, Black America, we need our scouts. Even when wisdom is suppressed for a generation or centuries, it always presents itself. Had it not, humanity would have perished hundreds of millennia ago. Each of us is born with our own unique purpose. Our purpose is as set as our eyes. We are who we are because we were constructed that way. That said, we are archetypes, and when we either suppress our true selves and live inauthentically or give into society's demands to be someone we are not, then depression sets in. We used to understand things. The natural falling into order of relationships. The natural falling into order of relationships. Some people are born to scout. It's who and what they are. Unfortunately for us all, we live in a culture that does not recognize this. However, once we do, our consciousness expands. So I'll give you an example. Come with me on a narration adventure. Imagine a kingdom that has existed for centuries in geographic isolation. Hmm, how does it survive? Well, here we go. I mean, we have to think about, how do people marry if they're an isolated kingdom? How do people marry, right? If everybody winds up being a cousin, how do the royals marry? Because the royals can't marry the commoners time after time. I mean, that's what makes royals royals. They only marry other royals from other kingdoms. And then, if they're so isolated, how do they remain hidden? And how are they able to know what's going outside their world and outside their borders, right? It's an isolated kingdom. How does it know what's going on? How does it know who its enemies are, who its allies are? Um, if other nations are encroaching on their territory, how do they know? If armies or marauders are coming their way, how do they know? And during travel, are there bandits nearby, right? So, I mean, this is an isolated kingdom. If there are new technologies or technological innovations being used by other neighbors, by their neighbors in other nations, how do they know? How do they access this? How do they know about the philosophies or ways of being that others practice that could benefit them? How do they know? How can they know? And what about art, music, performance art that the kingdom could benefit by, right? Think about it. Now, back to this meme of these former entertainers and athletes, and they've graduated from being entertainers and they have a lot of money, and now they're in the place where they're thinking about their legacy. They want to give back. They want to give back as much as they can. They've set their kids up, they've set their descendants up for the next 7 generations. Most of them came from hard backgrounds and they really want to do something. And all of their needs are met, but then they have higher needs that they need to meet. They have a need to serve, right? They have a need to give back. They have a need to contribute. So the hierarchy of needs, they're in the stage of self-actualization. Okay, so here's more. Okay, in the past several days, a meme has circulated about Coons, successful black men who retired from being entertainers and athletes and have graduated to being entrepreneurs and have stepped up the rung in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They are working on self-actualization because they've always been our time's scouts, and therefore taken risks most of us haven't and never will. And their risks have paid off, and that's why they have so much money and influence, right? They're doing what comes naturally. So, because when they were younger or before they blew up in their careers, they were willing to take risks, right? There were people who already were motivated intrinsically inside, not extrinsically. I mean, you have to have tremendous self-discipline and motivation to get to that level as an entertainer, whether it's sports or music or whatever, right? Acting, even business. But like this meme is basically of mostly rappers and sportsmen, right? So these are men who became idols to the Black community, and they were very popular. So I'm not talking about men who like went to college and they got business degrees and they opened up businesses. This is a different category of men who had been held to a certain standard by the Black community. So these men, these are their qualities, right? I'll call them scouts. That's the main term, scouts, okay? So the qualities, these are their qualities, right? These are the qualities that they have always had beyond the talents with, you know, the physical sports talents and beyond the ability to rap and things like that. Okay. My handwriting. So, diplomacy, risk, creativity, courage, protectiveness, right? Now, so what else? Hold on. Okay. So they're protective and they're in service to the nation, right? They're indispensable. So we're going back to this isolated kingdom, okay? So they're indispensable to the king and the nation. They're talented at learning languages. They're multilingual, so they can learn languages easily, learn new dialects. They know how to communicate, even if it's like nonverbal communication. They're very, very good at that. They're able to adjust to new environments very quickly. They're able to read the lay of the land. They're able to disguise themselves and be like chameleons. So imagine like there are a few scouts in the kingdom and they're constantly going out, right? And then relaying messages back. And sometimes they're enemies in the territory. Sometimes they're even wild animals that they have to disguise themselves from, you know, so that they don't get killed. They're masters at it. Okay, so they're like able to move appropriately, very easily. They know how to pivot very easily. They've got very good acting skills. You know, they know how to put on the poker face. They know if they have to play dead for for a little while, they'll play dead. They know how to do it. Okay. They pay attention to changes and things others don't because they don't have to. So people in the kingdom don't have to have the flexibility of the scouts, right? The people in the kingdom, they have their lives, they have their jobs, they have their specialities. Maybe the kingdom is protected by this big wall, and then there's a moat around the wall or whatever. And they can focus on building their own lives. They don't have to worry about what's going on outside of the kingdom, right? Because the scouts are their first defense, their first line of protection, right? The scouts go out and they bring back information and then they relay it to like the guards and the soldiers. Well, to the king and the generals and the guards and the soldiers and all of that. They're able to perceive the subtle changes, the subtleties of changes, whether patterns of behavior in animals, the weather, the environment, other kingdoms, other people. And they're able to perceive the mood and conversations of other nations, right? They're able to track movements of animals, and that includes human beings. They have facility with language that I said before, including specialist languages. Like in our modern times, for instance, doctors have their specialist language, right? And different, mechanics or auto mechanics have a specialist language. So they're able, like these scouts are able, every level of society, they're able to speak with. There's some, especially like in the olden days, or well, actually, it's true for this day as well. You have like the upper classes, and they have their language, and then you have like the working class people, and they have their language, and sometimes there's a lot lost in translation between the two. But these scouts can speak very freely and comfortably and naturally with every rung of society. Um, they're courageous. This is another one of their what do you call it? Qualities. They're courageous, and they have they know all the survival skills, right? They're able to keep the nation's secrets. Um, so, like I said before, while the rest of us, pretend we're all living in this kingdom, right? Whilst the rest of us need to keep our structure and our routines, and we need our scouts to be the ones who go out and take the risks. Sometimes they go alone, sometimes they go in these like small pods or these small little nimble teams that they split up if they have to. They hunt. They are the diplomats. Um, they bring messages between kingdoms. They understand like all the rulers, whether they're the allies or the enemies. They know who they are. They know their personalities. They know their agendas. These scouts, they do some spy missions. They do espionage, right? Um, they have a lot of information, and they know what to do with it, right? They'll negotiate on behalf of the king. They'll negotiate on behalf of the ministers. They they know how to convey the message from their king in the correct way, and vice versa. The king can't risk going out all over the place and traveling all over the place. You know how dangerous that is for the king? King has to stay alive, right? Um, let's see. So the scouts are very adaptable. So if they need to learn a new way of being, a new technology, if they have to iterate on it, they do it very easily. They come back with this knowledge and they teach, right? Um, they report the dangers, physical, environmental, if the dangers come from, marauders or a rival kingdom or wild animals or, you know, um, some change in the environment, right? Like there's an isolated kingdom, and then if all of a sudden all of the wild animals start, moving to someplace else, the scouts who are out there can perceive that, and they can like, okay, something's going on. We have to pack up and move, whatever. Um, so all of that to say, oh yeah, these scouts, they're willing to sacrifice all for the nation. So whether it's sacrificing their own lives or sacrificing everything that they've built, even sacrificing their reputation for the good of the nation, they're willing to do that. Um, so our modern day scouts, these coons, as we're calling them, and we're mocking them, are actually, they know very well that reaching out to the other side to negotiate business deals on the behalf of us might cost them their reputation. They might get canceled. They're still willing to do it anyway. That is how big their vision, and that is how big their love is for us. They have the warrior spirit, right? They're multifaceted, multifaceted, multilingual, flexible, observant, resourceful, innovative, creative, right? They have to be charismatic, diplomatic. Um, Hold on a second. I think I wrote sensitive, brave, trustworthy. Okay. Now, some thoughts I have. Oh, yeah, they have innate abilities. They understand that culture is dynamic and they're able to adapt to the dynamism of culture. They make alliances, they negotiate trade agreements. I said that before. They bring back new and alternate systems. They bring back a lot of knowledge and technology. And technology um, isn't only like physical stuff and tools. They bring back, it's the technology of the mind. They go to faraway lands. They bring back, I don't know, stories, myths, legends. Okay. Now this is getting to the meat of what I want to share. Okay. There are innumerable okay, let me start again. There are innumerable reasons. There are innumerable reasons for us Black adults to have conscious awareness of this and think about how we react to the seeming desertification by our heroes, and now we call them Coons, traitors, Uncle Toms, and how our reactions are affecting the younger generations. So, what are we saying to the younger generations when we vilify, cancel, mock these Black men who don't see conservatives, Republicans as enemies? So, what are we saying to our young people? We're saying, this is what we will do to you if you are a scout, right? We love you on the condition that you behave and live like us, right? Isn't that what we're saying? I mean, we're adults and we're modeling behavior to our youth, and we're showing them that, you can't be who you are. You can't think outside of the box, and this is what we're going to do to you. So when we do that, when we model that behavior for them, when they see, they listen to hear us, they watch us, how we react when, Black people leave the Democratic family, shall we say. Okay. Now, and this is because of the coronavirus lockdown, this has been exacerbated, right? Because now we have suicides that have increased by 600%, and we're going into a second lockdown. and Biden is promising us a dark winter. Okay. So let this be a dark night of the soul too. So for so many youth, these people we're mocking and chastising are who they have been looking up to, sometimes for most of their lives. So they've been looking up to them, they've been inspired by them. And, oh my gosh, let's see. So let's imagine the fear and the shame they experience witnessing the adults in their communities tear into our scouts. I'll say it again. Imagine the fear and shame they experience witnessing the adults in their communities tear into our scouts. Just imagine it, right? This is something to think about. Because each one of these Black celebrities is a scout. Each one of them is a leader. Each one of them is a diplomat. Each one of them is a negotiator. Each one of them is an entrepreneur. Each one of them is a philanthropist. Each one of them is a leader, right? This is what we're doing to our leaders, tearing them down. because they're making us look at ourselves, right? And it's very uncomfortable because each one of them is looking to build alliances. Um, and these are the types of alliances that teach us to fish. They're trying to build alliances that will put us in a position to be self sufficient, to not be dependent on government, right? And we tear them down. I'll give you an example, like from my own life. This whole subject reminds me of this. Oh, I used to run a sister circle. It was a women's group, and we'd meet like once a month, and we what is that? So we'd meet once a month, and have potlucks and just do fun activities, and then it became like a book club, and then we did a speaker series. But there was one where I was holding it at my house, and there were, a few new guests, and we're like sitting around in a circle, and we introduce. It's like after we've eaten, and we're all comfy and like, oh, we ate. But we're going around introducing ourselves and like basic information, and then what we're passionate about. And like, I'm passionate about travel, I'm passionate about new experiences, art, creativity, meeting new people. And this one woman said, I don't like to go anywhere. In fact, I hate traveling, and if I could have it my way, I would just stay at home and never go anywhere. And I was like blown away. It had never occurred to me that anybody could feel like that ever, right? Like, I thought everybody thought the way that I did. I couldn't imagine that anybody would never want to travel and would just want to live in the same house for the rest of their life. You know, like that was such a foreign concept to me. I mean, it was so foreign, and what she said to me was so shocking that I still remember it now as if she had said it 2 minutes ago. So maybe this is a similar experience that many of our people are feeling when, Kanye or Ice Cube or whoever reaches out and they do something different. And it's just this shock, like, what? What are you doing? Anyhow, I totally understand. Um, so we have to think. I mean, we can't, if we're thinking just of today, or just we are not thinking beyond next week or next month, um, and we're being reactive because we're being presented with a view or information that we never even could imagine we'd be presented with, and we're just having these like knee-jerk reactions. I hope that we're apologizing. Like I hope that we have the mind to apologize and go, okay, wait a minute. You know what? That was just different information, and it just shocked me, and I got angry or like stirred something really negative on me, and then I threw it on that person. I mean, I really hope that we get to that point, because nobody, I mean, we can't afford to have a culture of tearing people down. Okay, speaking of culture, we know culture is dynamic. The societies that not only survive and thrive are the ones that are flexible, innovative. They know how to separate the wheat from the chaff. They know how to not throw the baby out with the baby. They know how not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And they're adaptable. They keep the best of what's of their culture, and then anything else, any technology, any new philosophy, any way of being that benefits the culture, they take on, right? That's healthy. It's a healthy balance, right, between letting go of what's not working, letting go of ideas or practices that are very restrictive, and then also bringing on or iterating or refining or changing or transforming practices that benefit the whole society, right? And without quashing individualism. Okay? So I wrote this down and I think I'm going to finish soon. So imagine a nation that needs new land. The reason could be anything from getting far from encroaching enemies hungry to seize new territory, to needing more arable land as the population grows, to needing a new water source, to needing more land for their livestock, to needing safety from wild animals. In today's terms, a nation may need a new way of being if it is to survive and then prosper. The nation may The nation may need a new mindset, a new generation of entrepreneurs, new tools to pivot, new alliances, a new approach to education, to innovate its cultural practices. Whatever it may be, this nation you are imagining needs transformation, and it still needs stability, and yes, it needs a plan. Imagine that this nation is typical of every other in that it has a comparative handful of people predisposed to scouting, right? So that's what I want to say about scouts, you know. Um, and let's see. So every nation needs scouts. Maybe the most important quality of a scout is courage, right? So scouts are courageous. And like I said, you know, they're the trackers, they're the diplomats, they're the negotiators, they're the first line of defense. Um, they're the ones who bring new technologies home and make alliances and friendships, and uh, they're the ones who are multilingual. They're the chameleons. They can whatever needs to be done. They're flexible, so they're courageous. And there is a reason why every culture has some version of this phrase: don't shoot the messenger.